Hi, it's Jack, and this is the podcast version of this episode. If you want to read the words as they're being analysed, then if you're on Spotify, you can become a subscriber of this channel or head over to the YouTube channel. And on both platforms, you can also sign up to get exclusive episodes and early access to the regular weekly episodes too. Donna Adelson, the mother-in-law who tried to play the grieving victim. But listen closely to her words. They go from sorrow to pity, exposing exactly how she manipulates others. And wait until you hear what her husband Harvey said next.
I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death.
This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong.
Welcome to Never a Truer Word, where we look at the words that people choose to use to see if they're telling the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. If you're new to this, what I do here is different from anywhere else because I strip away everything apart from the words that are said by the people at the very heart of the story. And then I use my process of statement investigation to give you the keys to seeing where the truth is, where deception could be happening, and also the motivations of the people talking as well. It's a process that I use with investigators, with corporate clients, and with the media to get a deep understanding of what is being said. Now, this is part 2 of my breakdown of the statements given at Donna Adelson's sentencing. So check out part 1 first. In this episode, we're going to look at the end of Donna Adelson's statement and also what her husband Harvey said. Supposed to be a character witness statement, it was something else indeed. And we're going to break down those words and see what they really think about what was going on. I want to talk to you a little bit about authenticity. You see, authenticity is when we feel something or we've experienced something. And when we've got that genuine experience or that genuine feeling, then it's really easy to verbalize it. In fact, most of the time, our brain is on autopilot and picking the best words to fit what it is that we've experienced or what it is that we feel inside us. If it's not authentic, if we're making it up, or if we're trying to say we've got feelings that we don't have, then it's much harder to verbalize it. And that comes through when we speak in clunky words, in the wrong word choices, in things that just don't feel right. And I'll show you how that works as we go through these statements. So let's dive into Donna Adelson talking about, well, she's going to talk about the evidence or some of the evidence that was presented at her trial.
The state's theory that my husband and I dropped off money to my son was blown out of the water by their own witness. And yet, the state continued to push that story, that lie of the so-called money drop, to the jury through the remainder of the trial. And the jury bought into it, hook, line, and sinker. Reasonable doubt. Many months ago, my attorneys filed a motion for a change of venue. An expert witness testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media, printed news, television news, and podcast publicity about my family. He explained to the court, both with evidence and demonstratives, that for me to receive a fair trial, it needed to be held in any of the researched and designated areas in the state of Florida other than Tallahassee. All I wanted was a level playing field, but the court wanted the trial here in the hotbed of Tallahassee.
So Donna starts off there by talking about some of that evidence. The state's theory that my husband and I dropped off money to my son was blown out the water by their own witness. Interesting choice of blown out the water when you're talking about the murder of someone by gunshot. Interesting choice of words she uses there. And this was blown out the water, which is a very persuasive phrase to use. But it doesn't actually factually say that they proved that it's beyond no reasonable doubt that what I'm saying was true. That's not what she says. She just says it was blown out the water. A hugely persuasive statement that she feels the need to use. Why not just stick to more simpler things if you're so certain and sure of what you're saying? It was blown out of the water by their own witness. And yet, the state continued to push that story, that lie of the so-called money drop to the jury through the remainder of the trial. And she has to put 3 different persuasive terms in it, talking about the money drop. That story, that lie, the so-called money drop, that story, number 1, that lie, number 2, the so-called money drop, number 3. She feels she has to be really persuasive here and add in those terms in order to persuade that this, what she's saying, is True, I don't think she believes it herself, otherwise she wouldn't feel the need to turn up the severity of what she's saying with the story, with the lie, with the so-called money drop to the jury through the remainder of the trial, and the jury bought into it hook, line and sinker. She's saying the jury are stupid here. I'm fascinated by the fact that there was, few days of evidence, and all she can do is go on this one little bit of evidence that was blown out of the water. She doesn't talk about the full, wide-ranging story that was told, the case that was laid out against her. She doesn't talk about how any of her witnesses rebutted any of this at all, or how under cross-examination the state's case fell apart. All we have is this one tiny little bit of evidence. And what she's talking about is the fact that apparently her phone was not outside Charlie's house on the night of the murder. It's a really small part. And yet she feels that that's the only thing she can mention. And also she has to use all these persuasive parts or persuasive words in order to say that the state's case was rubbish. She says reasonable doubt. Maybe on that one little tiny thing, she's created some reasonable doubt, but not on the whole thing. Many months ago, my attorneys filed a motion for a change of venue. An expert witness testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media, printed, she kind of chokes a bit, printed news, television news and podcast publicity about my family. Now, I spoke in part one about Donna loving the status of people. You'll notice the expert witness doesn't have a name, doesn't have a designation. It's just an expert witness, because that's the most important thing, how qualified someone is. And they testified that Tallahassee had been barraged with over 9 years of negative social media. Negative against her family, as she says. She doesn't say it wasn't true. Printed news, television news, she doesn't say anything about them, just that they were news broadcasts or printed news. But again, she doesn't say these were not true, that the impression that people got from all of this social media and news that was carried before the trial, she doesn't say they were not true. She doesn't rebut them at all. And podcast publicity about my family. Publicity is supposed to be something that tells the truth, that hypes something up. That's what publicity is. Not, again, false. It's just podcast publicity. And it's about my family. It isn't even about her. She's fighting for her life here in her own head, because she is going to jail for a long, long time because she's been found guilty. And what she can't say is, there were so many false things said about me in the run-up to this trial that I did not stand a chance of a fair trial. What she says is there were things said about me. She doesn't say they were false, but she doesn't say they were about me. They were about my family. Really, really weak. Talking about the expert witness, she continues, he explained to the court, both with evidence and demonstratives, that for me to receive a fair trial, it needed to be held in any of the researched and designated areas in the state of Florida other than Tallahassee. All I wanted was a level playing field, but the court wanted the trial here in the hotbed of Tallahassee. All I wanted is the phrase that I want to pull out there, because that's an absolute. And when someone talks in absolutes, there's a reason for that. Life is very rarely black or white. It's shades of grey. And so all I wanted was a level playing field. No, you probably wanted a hell of a lot more, but the fact she's talking in absolutes shows us that really is what was going through her mind. She didn't just want the trial moved. She wanted a whole lot of other things. All I wanted is a deceptive phrase. She wanted a hell of a lot more. So in part number one, do you remember way back in part one of this series, all the nice stuff she said about Dan, what a great person he was, what a caring father he was, how learned he was with his career and so on. That is a long way away now, because we are now at a state of bad-mouthing the state, bad-mouthing the witnesses, bad-mouthing the jury, and bad-mouthing the court. We've gone from loving tribute to a man who should not have been murdered through to bad-mouthing a whole lot of people. So much arrogance. Listen, I cannot wait to share with you Harvey Adelson, her husband, when he got up and spoke on her behalf. Boy, there is a lot in there. But we've got some more Donna to get through first.
I sat through 3 days of jury selection. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes also added, I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one, said, I think she may be innocent. That should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue. But the court denied the motion. One of my jurors admitted during jury selection that she had background information concerning what one of the state's witnesses would be testifying about. Why was she allowed to be on my jury?
What moment?
Another juror.
Mrs. Fulford,
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Mr. Zellman, again, this has nothing to do with elocution of any sort. This is a raising of grievances, which are properly given to the appellate court. What does any of this have to do with sentencing?
Brad, just one moment, please.
The judge there raises the prospect of appeals. Donna's going to talk about that, but she is not convinced that she will win an appeal. I will show you that in her words later on. But let's deal with what she said there. I sat through 3 days of jury selection. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes also added, I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one said, I think she may be innocent. Now that is not a line I would have chosen myself, but once more is also, she doesn't repute it. She doesn't say they're wrong, she just states facts. I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one said, I think she may be innocent. So what she's doing is persuading us of her guilt. I know what she wants to say. She wants to say, I didn't get a fair trial because these people had their mind made up unfairly before the trial. But she can't complete that thought. She doesn't get to the end of it. Why? It's that non-authentic thing that I was talking about. She doesn't have it inside her to really think that. She's just splitting hairs here and making technical points. I believe she's guilty. Not one person, not one said, I think she may be innocent. She doesn't repute that. She doesn't say wrongly or has the wrong impression about me at all. She just states those facts. She also doesn't talk about the numbers, which I don't know the numbers, but I'm guessing from the fact she's hiding some of this, then that might not quite go in her favour. 180 potential jurors were asked if they had developed an opinion in my case. Those that answered yes, well, how many was that? Was it 1? Was it 179? She doesn't say. The fact she's hiding the number, I think, means it doesn't go in her favour. Those that answered yes also added, I believe she is guilty. Not one person, not one said, I think she may be innocent. She carries on. This should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue. This should have been a clue. This is controlling language. When you tell someone what should happen, you're saying that my will should be imposed, needs to be imposed. So this is an insight into, I think, Donna's personality. I think this is why a lot of this speech is happening. She thinks she can control people with words and with this manipulative, domineering language style. That should have been a clue to the court to grant our motion for a change of venue. But the court denied the motion. One of my jurors admitted during jury selection that she had background information concerning what one of the state's witnesses would be testifying about. Why was she allowed to be on my jury? And this is when the judge interrupts and says, one moment. Then we have another juror, because Donna tries to carry on. Mrs. Fulford, says the judge, talking to Donna's attorney. Oh, I didn't hear you, said Donna, which was interesting because there's just a hint in her language sometimes during this statement that she realizes the court has that power. And then the judge talks about why things should be happening on, or things should be said that should be going on appeal rather than at this point in time. So part two that we've looked at there with Donna, she's weakly pulled apart the evidence, but just that one little sliver of evidence, she's now got no choice but to talk about how guilty she seems to the public, which is like, you know, that's really desperate stuff, but it's all that she's got to go on. However, you know, it's not very reliable because it's not reputed. She doesn't say that they wrongly think I'm guilty. She just states the fact that these people think I'm guilty, and we've got that controlling language. She is used to winning with words, and she realizes it's not happening here. Let's get some more from Donna.
Please.
What happened to Danny is unforgivable. But I am an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence. Danny was a brilliant legal scholar. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. There are two crimes here. The first was Danny being viciously murdered The second one is taking my life, the life of an innocent woman. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. That is not justice for Dan. I've always respected the law. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee.
Donna begins that part there by saying what happened to Danny is unforgivable. And this is true. We know what happened to Dan Markell was unforgivable. She's stating a truth. You'll notice there that we don't have any persuasive words there. This is something I think she believes. I think she knows bad things happened to Danny and that it shouldn't have happened. Some level of regret or self-awareness. Not that she's going to say that out loud. She's going to keep it inside. But from time to time, the truth will leak out in her words. When we talk about authentic experiences, I believe this is her verbalizing an authentic experience. Lots of people on the end of episode 1 said that how dare she refer to Dan Markell as Danny, because in the correspondence we saw between Donna and Wendy in court, then she referred to him by many hideous names, horrible names, and now to use this soft, close term, Danny, is not right for Donna to do. I think it's a great point. But I am an innocent woman convicted of this terrible crime without evidence, and this is stated as a fact, but we all know the evidence was there. Then she decides to talk for the victim. Danny was a brilliant legal scholar. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. There are 2 crimes here, and she goes on to list those crimes. Now, talking on behalf of a dead person is probably not a good look, especially the person that you have been convicted of murdering. Interestingly, she doesn't say if Danny was here now, he'd say how close we were, or how he did not fear me, or anything like that. It's again into this technicalities of court and so on, but saying what he would have said with certainty. This is again, I think, is this controlling language. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice, not I think he would have been appalled by the total lack of justice. My view is that he would have been appalled. She's using these convincing words. He would have been appalled at the total lack of justice, not just the lack of justice. She has to turn up the severity and call it a total lack of justice that went on during my trial. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with any of it. Now, notice again, she doesn't repute what's going on. She doesn't stand up for herself and say, I am innocent, and she does say, I am an innocent woman, but Danny would not have stood up and said she is innocent. It's obvious that she is innocent. Where is the evidence and so on? No, Danny is just the lack of justice, the total lack of justice that went on. He would have been embarrassed to have his name associated with it. Again, that might be true. He might have been embarrassed to have his name associated with a mother-in-law like that. She talks about the 2 crimes. The first was Danny being viciously murdered. The second one is taking my life, the life of an innocent woman. Now, that is false equivalence. It really is. There was a vicious murder. You're being locked up for it. Your life hasn't been taken in the same way that Dan's has, but you want to equivocate the 2 things. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. Now, I want to talk about this a lot. Convicting me should not be retribution for Danny's death. So she's saying it is retribution for Danny's death. She's not saying it isn't retribution for Danny's death. She's not saying this is not justice for Dan. She's saying it shouldn't be seen as justice for Dan. That's her interpretation of it all. But once more, there's just a lack of solidity to her pushing back on what has happened. Convicting me should not be retribution. Not, it isn't. It's unfair. It's not right on Dan because he has not had justice because the wrong person is being sentenced here. No, it just shouldn't be retribution for Danny's death. And that word, retribution. Now, this is very telling. Do you know what retribution means? With lots of words, we have a sort of internal dictionary for us. We maybe couldn't come out and say what the words are, but we know what it means. We have that authentic experience of what it means. Let me tell you the dictionary definition of retribution. Retribution is punishment inflicted on someone as vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. So vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. So she is saying that retribution is what is coming her way, which is vengeance for a wrong or criminal act. That, to me, is her admitting, inside her words, that a wrong and criminal act has taken place and that the vengeance for it has been taken on her, i.e. she owns that wrong and criminal act. That's what retribution means, and she uses that word retribution. That is not justice for Dan. Finally, we have her saying it. But then she goes back onto her. So she doesn't go and fight strongly for this justice for Dan. She just says it and then moves on and talks about herself. I've always respected the law. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. Now, that word never always gets me, I say. It doesn't prove someone's lying, but when you hear the word never, just dig in and see what's happening there. I've never got a parking ticket. That doesn't mean she didn't park illegally. That doesn't mean she didn't break the law. Yeah, that doesn't mean it at all. It just means she's never got caught breaking the law. I've never been caught for speeding. That doesn't mean that I've always driven under the speed limit. I mean, I have, if anyone is watching and wants to take it up. But there, it's just, I've never gotten a parking ticket. She can't even say, I've always been a law-abiding person, or the rule of law is very important to me, or anything like that. It's just this example of I've never gotten a parking ticket. But that's extremely, extremely weak. And by the way, that doesn't mean she hasn't committed other crimes, because she doesn't say that. She just tells us she's never gotten a parking ticket. The impression she wants to give is she's a law-abiding citizen, but she doesn't say those words. She doesn't say anything as wide as that. It's only, I've never gotten a parking ticket. Imagine what could be said truthfully. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but man, I've defrauded the tax man a hell of a lot. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I've stolen things. Those could all be said. I've never gotten a parking ticket might be true, but it's extremely, extremely limited. I've never gotten a parking ticket, but I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. And I think there's a personal definition going here, which is that she considers a murderer to be the person that pulled the trigger, who did the act. And the law sees it as a wider thing, that the people who conspired, commissioned, and decided that these things had to happen, a murder had to happen, are also just as guilty as the people who did it. I think that's what we've got going on here. Is she's got a personal definition. It's a personal definition of comfort. It brings her comfort to be able to say, I did not murder anyone, because in her head, what she means by that is I didn't physically do the act of murder, which is very different from the law and from what she is up in court for. And I think this gives her some comfort, and it's why she is able to say that without persuasive words and in a very straightforward manner, because she believes on some level she is not a murderer because she didn't do the physical act. I'm going to prison for a murder I did not commit. She then says, I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee. Now look at all the weak words in there. I do intend to file an appeal, not I will file an appeal or I'm going to file an appeal. I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully, again a weak word, I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee. So hopefully an opportunity there, creating distance and creating what might happen, what could happen. But I do not think she thinks she has a chance in hell of succeeding in any way with an appeal, because as soon as she starts talking about it, her wording gets very woolly. I do intend to file an appeal so that hopefully I have the opportunity to be given a fair trial outside of Tallahassee. So here in this section here, again, we have that focus on Danny's career. You know, he was a brilliant legal scholar, and I think she really loved having that in her family, the status that having this brilliant legal person in the family gave the family, or added to the family as well. She's really weak on the I didn't do angle, though. She, again, when we're talking about authentic words, she finds it hard to bring any of that out, and she's not convinced that she'll be successful with the appeal at all. Now, that was all weak, but if you thought that was weak, wait until you hear how she finished her statement at her sentencing. Listen, there's a lot more Adelson stuff. You can get a playlist of all the Donna Adelson trial day breakdowns, because it was fascinating what went on there, so do check that out. And by the way, do you ever feel you're not getting the full story? I mean, Donna is just a perfect example of that. And you're right, because it's happening to you, not just with people like Donna Adelson, but it will be happening all the time around you. Hopefully, with less serious consequences. I'm here to give you the key to seeing deeper, because you can hear the world with new ears. I'm on a mission to share this skill with as many people as possible. So if you want that secret, then do subscribe to this channel or follow this channel and join in the movement. Delve into the archives. There's a load more Adelson things. There's a lot more people speaking in court as well, because there's just a treasure trove of tips and hints on how to really hear someone's words to be explored. And do you know someone who needs this? Someone who deserves to hear the truth, maybe about something that's going on with them in their life? Then hit the like button. That helps this get out to many, many poor people. Share it with others. Recommend it. Pass it on. It is a great gift to give. Every single click an episode like this gets, every single share, it fuels the fire. It allows me to dig deeper, analyse further, and bring this life-changing skill to even more people. Now, Harvey Adelson is on the way. You don't want to miss this, because Harvey Adelson, wow. But let's get one last part from Donna.
11 years ago, Danny was murdered and taken from all of us who loved him. For the past 9.5 years, the state has broadcast to the world, including Danny's parents and sister, that I hired hitmen to kill him. Never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed, nor could I ever do something that would leave these two small boys to grow up without him. I love these boys more than life itself. This is a lifetime of loss for these children. They didn't deserve this. His family didn't deserve this. Danny didn't deserve this. And so, as I appear before you today, Your Honor, I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder. I was not.
And with that, we may never hear from Donna again. So let's analyse the end of that statement. 11 years ago, Danny was murdered and taken from all of us who loved him. So once more, and we saw this in part one of it all, that she couldn't talk about her own personal connection with Dan at all. And once more, he was taken from all of us who loved him. She lumps herself in with a whole load of other people there. All of us who loved him there as well is very qualified. He was taken from the world. Not just all of us who loved him. She's just trying to lump herself in with people who genuinely did love Dan Markel. For the past 9.5 years, the state has broadcast to the world, including Danny's parents and sister, that I hired hitmen to kill him. Once more, she doesn't repute that. She just says they broadcast this to the world. She doesn't say it was false. She doesn't say it was a lie. She doesn't say it was propaganda or anything like that. She just gives it factually. The state has broadcast to the world, and then I think we have an embedded confession. That's when people say the bad thing out loud. It's got other terms around it, but right in the middle of it has the very bad thing, and those words are, I hired hitmen to kill him. She, again, doesn't say this was false. It's an embedded confession. The state has broadcast to the world, including Danny's parents and sisters, that I hired hitmen to kill him. She then says, never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed, nor could I do something that would leave those two small boys to grow up without him. So we've got that word never again. Always makes me dig in. And it's never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed. It's not a denial of what she's been found guilty of, which is the murder and conspiracy to the murder. It's just never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed. Never in a million years. Well, never doesn't mean never. We say it all the time and don't really mean it. I'd never do that unless I was really up against it. That's the sort of thing that we say. Never sounds very solid. It means not at any time. But we don't use it like that. We qualify never. And would I have wanted? Never in a million years would I have wanted. Would I have wanted? It's very distant. It's very future focusing. Never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed. Nor could I ever do something that would leave those two small boys to grow up without him. Just something. The guy was killed. Never could I have taken part in anything that would leave those two small boys to grow up without them. It's just something. She's just creating some distance. But if this is I had nothing to do with this murder. It's not very straight. Not very straight at all. Why can't she just say, I didn't do this? But it's never in a million years would I have wanted Danny to be harmed or killed, nor could I ever do something that would leave those two small boys to grow up without him. She just can't say it straight. And then she says, I love those boys more than life itself. Well, in a minute ago, she was devastated because her life was being taken away. But now she loves those two boys more than life itself. It's a cliche. And again, when I'm talking about authentic experiences and how easy authentic experiences are and feelings are to turn into words because we just automatically find the best words. Our brain knows them and just lets them all come out. When we talk in cliches like, I love those two boys more than life itself, we don't have the authentic feeling inside us in order to get that out. Then she says, this is a lifetime of loss for these children. They didn't deserve this. And that is true. We know that is true. And I think there is some awareness, and I see it in Donna's statement only when she is talking about her grandchildren, Dan's children, that she does seem to be able to understand that what happened to Dan was a bad thing. Not for what happened to Dan, not the consequences for Dan. You know, she doesn't talk about the possibility of Dan's life being cut short and the things that he could have achieved if he hadn't been murdered. She only talks about it through the filter of her grandsons. I think she genuinely has some awareness that what happened, what she made happen, was a very bad thing for those two boys. This is a lifetime of loss for these children. They didn't deserve this. His family didn't deserve this. Oh, I think she's widened that out to his family. Danny didn't deserve this. Comes last. The victim comes last. The boys, his family, Dan Markel himself. And so, as I appear before you today, Your Honour, I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder. That could be said a hell of a lot simpler. I did not kill Dan Markel. I am not the murderer of Dan Markel. However, she seems to want to turn it all up and be very persuasive. I promise you with my whole heart, I swear to you on my life, I was not involved in any way with Danny's murder. In any way, I was not involved in Danny's murder. I was not. She finishes it with a really weak attempt at persuasion. So, what do I think of Donna? What do I think Donna's got going on? All she has to talk about is her guilt. It's all that she can really talk about in any deep way. Her attempts at empathy and understanding, they fall short, apart from towards the grandchildren. I think she realises some damage has been done there. But when she's talking about any of this, it just doesn't come out with any real meaning. And so many embedded confessions inside her statement. I hired the hitman. That is in the words that she uses. So that was Donna Adelson's statement. Don't know why she gave it. I don't know what she hoped to achieve. Did she think the judge was just going to go, oh yeah, actually, you know, everything that went on is wrong. I'm with the jury here. I'm against the jury here. I'm with Donna here. Actually, Donna, just go home. I don't know why she felt the need to say it, but she did. She said it badly, and it, for me, revealed that she is guilty inside her words. Before Donna spoke, her husband, Harvey, spoke. Supposed to be a character witness statement, maybe pleading to the judge for some leniency in the sentencing because Donna is such a great person, will be much missed when she's in jail, will not be able to contribute to society, or something like that. However, Harvey had different ideas.
Thank you, Judge, and respected officers of the court for allowing me to speak. I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything so that she could pour her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. This summer was our 54th wedding anniversary, and I had to spend it without her, hand in mine. She has done nothing wrong, and yet is being punished for a crime that she did not commit. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. I have listened, watched, and sat in the courtroom for the entire trial, and I could not help but scream in my mind by the witnesses that were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. I didn't know that you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. Danny's parents contend that they have never seen their grandchild. But for years they say they've never seen her. But Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son, but they also continue to tell lies to the court about our grandchildren. Donna has always been a loving and caring wife and is innocent of the charges. A biased judge and jury were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and
Before you
social
continue,
media.
Doctor, Ms. Fulford, this has nothing to do with the character of the defendant
May
or
I
relates
just-
to sentencing.
May I have just one moment, please?
Man, this judge is not taking any nonsense. So there's Harvey's first part of his speech before he's reined in by the judge. He starts off with a salutation. Thank you, Judge, and respected officers of the court for allowing me to speak. The whole point of Harvey speaking was as a character witness, to talk about Donna. However, it's very interesting. You might get the impression he talks about Donna. He does talk about Donna, but he starts off talking about himself. He says, I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. It's not Donna Adelson has been my wife for over 50 years. It's I have been Donna Adelson's husband for over 50 years. So he's talking about himself and his own relationship to Donna there, rather than talking about Donna herself. Donna has been my wife for over 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything so that she could pour her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. Now, this is an interesting one. Number one, look at the order there. The order that we mention things in is normally our internal priority mention. So Donna poured her heart and soul into our children, our grandchildren, and our marriage. Very limited there in what she poured her heart and soul into. It is just the family, but it's children first, grandchildren second, marriage is last. And I get a feeling that, is he 100% happy with how that marriage carried on? Because there's no we pronouns in there. He does talk about our children and our grandchildren, but it's I have been married to Donna Adelson for 50 years. My wife sacrificed everything. It's not we have been married for 50 years. It's not we sacrificed everything. It's what Donna did there. And also sacrificed everything. What does that mean? That's really interesting because she sacrificed everything? Everything? Well, no, because she had children that she poured her time into, so she didn't sacrifice them. She didn't sacrifice her grandchildren because in his words, she poured her heart and soul into them. And she didn't sacrifice the marriage because she poured herself into them. All very important things in life, but he's being overly persuasive here by saying she sacrificed everything so that she could do this. He carries on. This summer was our 54th wedding anniversary, and I had to spend it without her hand in mine. You'll notice, by the way, if you go back and listen to it, listen to his stress. He's reading words there, and he gets the stress wrong. He says it very strangely. Another indication this is not authenticity coming out there. Again, the victimhood is on him this time. I had to spend it without her hand in mine. She has done nothing wrong, is what he says. Now, is that an internal definition going on there, that he thinks she has done nothing wrong? Because it's not very persuasive, although it is wide-ranging. We've all done things wrong in our time. She has done nothing wrong, and yet is being punished for a crime she did not commit. Now, again, I think this is that personal definition, that because Donna didn't pull the trigger and kill Dan Markel physically, directly, that she is innocent. She is an innocent person. The crime was the killing of Dan Markel, and she didn't commit that crime. I think that's where the Adelson mindset is. I thought we lived in a different kind of world. I guess I was wrong. He uses that twice, that I thought this, but I was wrong on this. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. And I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. Your son-in-law, sir, was murdered for nothing that he did, for no fault at all of his own. So even if you believe that Donna is innocent and that she was not involved in the murder, you saw firsthand how harsh a world we live in. I thought we lived in a different kind of world, but I guess I was wrong. It's not authentic. He's trying to bring up more cliches and thoughts, but for a second, he doesn't have the self-awareness to go, this is a cruel world. This is a very cruel world, and she's another victim in it. It's just, I thought we lived in a different kind of world. Did you really, when your son-in-law was murdered in cold blood? Then Harvey talks about being in the trial. I have listened, watched, and sat in the courtroom for the entire trial. The three qualities, or the three things he lists there, I think are in priority order. Listened, watched, and sat. And I think it's what he heard that he really didn't like. That's why he mentions listened first, watched second, and there was plenty of evidence to watch as well, or maybe watch the demeanour of the people who were talking. And I could not help but scream in my mind by the witnesses that were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. Now, we have a repetition here of sound words. I have listened, watched, sat in the courtroom for the entire trial. I could not help but scream in my mind that the witnesses were brought forward by the prosecution who told outright lies. I'm not quite sure what it means, but I thought it was very interesting that he defaulted to using sound words against this. I think the sound, what he heard at the trial, he did not like. And those witnesses told outright lies. They didn't just tell lies, they told outright lies, is what he's saying. It's persuasive. He's trying to turn up the severity there. Again, he uses that concept. I didn't know that you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. How old is he? People lie in courtrooms all the time, Harvey. People do it all the time. You know, people get up and say, I didn't do the crime and get found guilty. It happens all the time. But he's doing this fake naive thing. I didn't know you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. And again, it's just that you could lie in a courtroom, you can. It's not directly talking about any witness that he thinks has lied. It's not about anything at all that happened at the trial. It's just an in general thing. I didn't know you could lie in a courtroom, but apparently you can. And the victim is him there. You know, this is all the screaming that happened during the trial. He wasn't horrified by the evidence that was being laid on his wife, because his wife is the person who suffers from this bad evidence. It's him. It's him. I wanted to scream at all of this. Again, he just doesn't join it up and complete the thought that's going on. He then decides to pick on the parents of the victim, Dan Markell, and he does it in a very odd way. Danny's parents contend that they have never seen their grandchild, but for years they say they've never seen her. But Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. Now, this is very, very strange. Danny's parents contend they have never seen their grandchild. There's 2 children involved here, but he's just taken it down to 1. Why? Why does he not have in his mind, in his feelings, the grandchildren, these 2 boys that he's talking about? Why does he just go, never seen their grandchild, rather than grandchildren? But for years they say they've never seen her. And I've listened to it many times, and it's her that he says. Now, we all misspeak from time to time, but in talking about these 2 boys, he's been very, very sloppy with what he said, calling them the 2 boys, boiling it down to a grandchild, and then referring to the boys as her. But Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits. Now, you'll notice he's been very, very vague with the timeline. All of this could be true, that Danny's parents have never seen their grandchildren for years. But Wendy has shared pictures with me and videos and letters from their visits. Well, those could be before the year started that they have never seen their grandchildren. So everything he says there could be true, and it would still be horrendous. He can't rebut it in any way whatsoever. Also, he doesn't say that he has personal knowledge of what he's trying to get across, which is that these people are lying. They say they've never seen their grandchildren, but they've seen them lots. That's the impression that he wants to give. It's not the words he uses, and he can't say he has personal knowledge of it. He has to say, Wendy has shared with me pictures and videos and letters from their visits, which is not, direct knowledge. It's saying, well, Wendy told me. Also open to the fact that Wendy could be lying to him. I think he's putting the blame on, did this happen? Didn't this happen? Wendy tells me it happened. If Wendy's lying, it's not my fault. It's the truth is I think I know it. So he's open to Wendy misleading him there. But a horrible, horrible section. He wants to say, I feel so sorry for these 2 boys. They've been pulled into the middle of this. There's lies being told about them. But he gets really, really sloppy with it all. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son, but they also contend to tell lies to the court about our grandchildren. Now, there's a but inside that statement there. You may have heard the phrase, everything before the but is bull. That's not quite true. Both sides of the but are true. However, for the person talking, what comes after the but is a larger priority. They have suffered immensely at the loss of their son. True. But, more importantly, they've lied to the court about our grandchildren. Interesting, because as he said it previously, it's not a lie about the grandchildren, it's a lie about the family's behaviour. In Harvey's words, is the lie is that they have not allowed the Markells to see their grandchildren. So it's not a lie about our grandchildren, it's actually a lie about our family's behaviour, but he wants to distance all that from it. Tries to join it up there with our grandchildren. I think what's interesting as well is he was talking about people telling lies in court, and what he's talking about here is not something that was used in evidence against Donna. This was something that was said at another time. It's my understanding of it as well. He says Donna has always been a loving and caring wife and is innocent of the charges. A biased jury and judge were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and social media. We have an absolute there. Donna has always been a loving and caring wife. When someone talks in absolutes, it's never true. She can't always have been a loving and caring wife. You know, in fact, at some point, she wasn't married to the guy. She hasn't always been a loving and caring wife. He's just put that word in there to convince us of how loving and caring Donna is. Also interesting is how qualified this is. It's not a loving and caring mother, grandmother, person, employer, friend, member of the community. She's only loving and caring in terms of being a wife. Therefore, it doesn't really refute the fact that she conspired to have her son-in-law murdered and is innocent of the charges. Not saying exactly what she's innocent of, just the charges. So again, I think we've got this personal definition going on there. They don't like the murder charge, basically. They thought that, you know, they're just conspiring to murder. They're not doing the bad thing. They're just kind of saying, hey, could you help us get rid of a problem? And the problem was got rid of. We didn't murder anyone, but the law says different. A biased judge and jury, brave one there, were influenced by years of one-sided news pieces and social media. Once more, very much like Donna, she doesn't say that the news pieces and the social media are false. They're just one-sided. Their side of the story wasn't in there. These are one-sided. And both him and Donna, when they're talking about this publicity that the case has received, never once say it was false. They say it was negative. Donna said it was negative. Here he's saying it's one-sided, but he doesn't say it was false. So here, he has no commitment to what he's saying, especially when he talks about one grandchild. So much distance he's creating from what's going on there as well. And just no authentic words, especially around the grandchildren. So we saw the judge intervene. The attorney seemed to look and change Harvey's script a little bit. And he's come back to the stand to finish up what it is that he wants to say.
All right, thank you for letting me continue. Donna did not participate in the heinous acts that she was convicted of doing. You are sending an innocent woman to prison. You have taken my wife and you have taken my life as well. And for what? This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong.
There we go for Harvey. Says, thank you for letting me continue. Donna did not participate in the heinous acts she was convicted of doing. Participate is an interesting word. Participate is joining in there. And again, I think they just have this comfort that Donna didn't pull the trigger. She didn't participate in the heinous acts that she was convicted of doing. I think by heinous act, he means pulling the trigger, shooting Dan Markel. And Donna did not participate in that. It's the truth. The truth is much easier for us to tell. He has the authentic feeling that Donna didn't participate in the heinous act, but she did participate in other things. That's why he has to qualify it down to just participate in the heinous act. You're sending an innocent woman to prison. You have taken my wife, and you have taken my life as well, is what he says. Who's the victim here? You've taken my wife, and you've taken my life as well. Poor old Harvey. It is all about him here. It's not that the innocent person, you've taken her life, you've cut short stuff around the family or so on. It's just me. You've taken my wife, and you've taken my life as well. And then he finishes off with, and for what? This is not justice. It is vengeance, and it is wrong. It is vengeance. We've seen that word before when we've been looking at what Donna says. Let's get the dictionary definition of vengeance. Vengeance is the infliction of injury, harm, humiliation, or the like on a person by another who has been harmed by that person, or it means violent revenge. Once more, he uses a word to describe what has happened, which implicitly implies that Donna is guilty. It is vengeance. It is vengeance on Donna for what Donna has done. It may not be justice, but it's vengeance. And vengeance is the act of taking out anger on someone who has done you wrong. Donna used retribution. he used vengeance. They both are well aware that Donna is suffering for her actions because it's there inside their words. And that was Harvey's statement. Now, just like Donna, he has attempts at empathy, but those attempts are booby-trapped by his words. There's no depths to any of the denials on her behalf whatsoever, and it is an awful character witness for his wife. It is so limited in scope. He has very little he wants to share with people about what Donna adds to anyone's life. So there's the breakdown of the statement of Harvey and the statement of Donna at her sentencing. Both of them, I believe, reveal that they have some comfort in thinking Donna didn't pull the trigger, but don't have authentic words to rebut anything that went on. That inside their words is saying all the stories said about us, they were true. And also the fact that we're very comfortable that she didn't pull the trigger. However, look, we know that what's happening is as a result of Donna's actions. What do you think? Let me know in the comments if you can on this platform, or you can get in touch at neveratruerword.com. There you'll also find a whole lot of podcasts, including a lot on the Adelsons. They're also available as videos too. That's all at neveratruerword.com. We'll see you soon for something new from Never a Truer Word.